Good day, Kavibal, and welcome to our Learn at Home FB Live session. For the discussion today, the topic will be on enhancing information processing skills. Before we begin, take note of the following reminders. Make sure you are registered to the webinar to have your e-certificate of participation. Visit certificate.vibalgroup.com to generate your proof of attendance. Place your questions on the comment box allotted during the session and they will be addressed by our speaker later on. Share the video using hashtag LearnAs1PH as our official hashtag to our Vibal webinars. Experience learning, Kavibal. And now, to proceed with our webinar this evening, it is my pleasure to introduce to you our distinguished speaker today. Our speaker is a graduate of Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in English at Stella Maris College, Oroquieta City. He took Master of Arts in Education Management at Misamis University. He is also a fellow of Fulbright International Leaders in Education program from January 2018 to May 2018 at Kent State University, Ohio, United States of America. Currently, he is a junior high school teacher at Bunga National High School. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Arvin Lu Abaday Onez II.
Hello! Good evening po sa lahat. Ayan. There you have it. Welcome po muli sa ating live webinar session, ang Learn at Home series, hatid po sa atin ng Vibal Group, which happens every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights from 7 to 8 p.m. Ang dami pong mga activities na ginagawa ngayon ng Vibal for free, pero yung sa atin po ngayong gabi ay about Learn at Home series po yan. Monday, Wednesday, Friday nights from 7 to 8 p.m. Muli po, ako po ang inyong lingkod ngayong gabi, Mr. Arvin Lu II Abaday Onez, isa pong guro from Bunga National High School. Sa mga nagtatanong saan yung Bunga National High School, Oroquieta City Division po, Misamis Occidental, Region 10, Northern Mindanao po. And tonight, we would be talking about enhancing information processing skills. So maya-maya po, malalaman natin kung ano ba tungkol itong enhancing information processing skills. Pero bago muna yan, magbibigay muna ako ng kakaunting disclaimer po. Lahat po ng mga ipepresent ko ngayon, lahat po ng mga sasabihin ko ngayon, I am not bringing the name of any department. Instead, lahat po ng mga sasabihin o i-share ko ngayong gabi sa inyo ay hango po yan sa mga personal readings ko, personal research ko po. Ayun. Other things to attend tonight, kaya let us not keep you waiting. Instead, we will proceed with my presentation. Once again, tonight we will be talking about enhancing information processing skills. So let me begin my presentation by first defining the basic definition or giving the basic definition of a computer. As we all know, ladies and gentlemen who are watching with me live right now via Facebook, a computer is an electronic device that manipulates information or data. At saka yung ginagawa ng computer, basically, it stores, it processes, and it retrieves data. You may already know that you can use computer to type documents, no? When we type lesson plans, we send email, even playing games, or even browsing the web or using the internet. You can also use the computer itself to edit, to create spreadsheet or presentations and even videos. Basically, yung ginagawa po ng computer is to store, to process, and to retrieve data. Okay? Halimbawa po, mayroon po kayong ini-encode. That is actually storing Mayroon kayong ini-input. Tapos sinesave nyo, it's on a process. And then anytime po, babalikan ninyo yung na-encode ninyo na data kasi kinakailangan nyo na, and then you print it. You're producing an output that's part of the retrieving and then printing for an output. Basically, a computer does these three main things: to store, to process, and to retrieve data. Talking about computer, a little bit of a backgrounder. Yung alam na natin na computer ngayon, it actually began in the 19th century with this English mathematics professor by the name of Sir Charles Babbage. Kung makikita niyo po ngayon sa inyong mga screen, yung nasa picture po on the left side, that is the picture of Sir Charles Babbage. Siya po yung may pakana o yung person behind kung bakit meron tayong computer ngayon. Siya po yung nag-invent ng computer. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, why am I talking about computers? No? Bakit nire-refresh ko yung basic definition ng computer, a little bit of its history? Well, it has something to do with our webinar topic for tonight. Okay? The topic for tonight is all about enhancing our information processing skills. Bakit ba na pag-usapan natin si computer? Well, let me lead you to my next slide. The development of the computer in 1950s and 1960s, it has an important influence on psychology and was in part responsible for the cognitive approach becoming the dominant approach in modern psychology. Before this time, 1950s, 1960s, sikat si behaviorism. Ibig sabihin po ng behaviorism, yun po yung mga we learn, and then after we learn, there is a change in the behavior. Doon na natin ma-measure kung mayroon bang learning na nangyayari sa isang tao. But because of computer, the existence of computer, mayroong pag-shift from behaviorism to this what we call as the cognitive approach. Bakit po ba? With the existence of computer, cognitive psychologists made an analogy which compare human mental processing to how computer works. Napag-usapan natin kanina yung three basic tasks ng computer. Kino-compare po yung how our mental faculty as human beings work doon sa isang computer. The use of the computer as a tool for thinking how the human mind handles information is now known as the computer analogy. Ginawan po ng analogy. Paano mag-work si computer? Parang ganun din mag-work yung mental faculty ng isang tao. Yun po yung tinatawag natin na computer analogy. And that leads to this theory. This is what we call the information processing theory. The basic idea of information processing theory is that the human mind or the mental faculty of a person is like a computer or information processor. Okay? Pag-uusapan po natin yan ngayon. This theory, itong information processing theory, equates thought mechanism to that of a computer. Kagaya ng computer, yung mind ng isang tao, based on this theory. It receives input, it processes, and it delivers an output. Okay? Kaya, inintroduce ko sa inyo kanina about computer. Similarly po, yung mental faculty ng isang tao, information gathered from our senses. Basically, we have 5 senses. Lahat po ng ating mga nagagather na information using our senses. Halimbawa, visual, the sense of sight, auditory, the sense of hearing, olfactory, the sense of smelling, the gustatory, yung sense of taste, at saka yung tactile, yung sense of touch natin. Yun po yung 5 senses, basic 5 senses po natin. Anything that is perceived by our senses, dun po yung input na nangyayari. Then after that one, it is stored and processed by the brain, and then finally brings about a behavioral response, which is now we call as the output. So parang yung theory na to is talagang ini-equate doon sa paano nag-work yung isang computer. Receiving an input, pinaprocess, at saka nagdi-deliver ng output. Ito pong tatlo is what we call the memory process. Doon na sa ating theory. Una-una sa prosesong ito is what we call the encoding. Pangalawa is the storage. And then storage, and then later on si retrieval. When we talk about encoding, ladies and gentlemen, ito po yung process of getting information into memory. Kaya kagaya ng sinabi ko sa inyo kanina, what we perceive, lahat po ng mafe-feel natin o makukuha natin na information using our senses, it will come into encoding. Encoding, the process of getting information, we get information going to our memory. Information or the stimuli which is not encoded will never Halimbawa po, ngayon po, while I am talking, siguro may katabi kayo na nag-uusap din. At saka yung mga katabi ninyo na nag-uusap, hindi nyo binibigyan ng gaano ka pansin or you do not give much attention to them, you basically are hearing them but you are not listening to them. Ibig sabihin, hindi mo talaga ini-encode yung pumapasok doon. Kasi nga nakafocus kayo dito. Okay? Encoding requires paying attention. Ibig pong sabihin, yun lamang pong binibigyan natin ng attention na pumapasok sa ating senses ay siya lamang pong nai-encode. Kaya nga po in our classroom setting, ladies and gentlemen, di ba as teachers, medyo nagagalit tayo kapag mayroong bata na hindi nakikinig. Bakit? Basically, kapag gusto natin ma-remember ng bata yung mga pinag-uusapan natin sa classroom o yung tinatalakay natin sa classroom, we have to pay attention. Because on that paying attention, doon nangyayari o nagaganap si encoding. Encoding requires paying attention to information and linking it to existing knowledge in order to make the new information meaningful. And the more meaningful the information is, the easier na ma-remember natin. Easier na mariretrieve natin. Kaya dahil nga binigyan natin ng attention. Okay? There are two ways of encoding. Una po is what we call the automatic processing at saka yung pangalawa po yung tinatawag natin na effortful processing. Grabe yung term, no? Effortful processing. These are the two ways of encoding. Let us talk first about the first way, which is the automatic processing. Automatic processing occurs without any conscious awareness. It occurs effortlessly, automatic. Kaya nga tinatawag siya na automatic kasi effortless, without you having to think about it. Halimbawa po, yung may nag-uusap sa likod ninyo ngayon, you do not give effort to listen to it. Okay? Sadyang nangyari siya. It's an automatic, no, na nai-encode sa mind natin. On the other hand naman, in contrast kay automatic processing, yung tinatawag natin na effortful processing. When we talk about effortful processing, it occurs when you consciously try to remember information. Yung nangyayari ngayon na nanonood kayo ngayon sa ating webinar hosted by Vibal Group, tapos gusto nyo talagang makuha yung information na tinatalakay natin ngayon, you are actually doing this way. Effortful processing kasi gusto nyong may ma-remember kayo. Okay? Yung sa mga bata na nakikinig ngayon or sa mga parents na nakikinig ngayon, ito yung gusto natin para mas maraming ma-remember yung bata, mas maraming matutunan yung bata. We need an effortful processing. Okay? Again, when we talk about effortful processing, ito yung conscious tayo to remember something, to remember the information na na-perceive ng ating five senses. It requires special attention, it requires thought and practice. In other words, you have to put an effort. Hence, tinatawag natin siyang effortful processing in order to get the information to our memory. Parang hindi siya magiging passing lang. Para mayroon tayong matatandaan later on kapag mayroon tayong gustong i-remember. Okay? Next slide. There are three forms of encoding. Kanina, two ways of encoding. Ngayon naman, tatlong forma ng encoding. The three forms of encoding. Ano ba tong three forms of encoding? Sir, sabi mo kanina may five senses tayo. Bakit tatlo lang? Bakit three forms lang yan? Saan yung dalawa? Friends, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about forms of encoding, yung information po na nape-perceive ng senses natin, it needs to be changed into a form. Kasi doon sa form, pwede nating ma-store. Okay? Uulitin ko po, Yung information na nape-perceive ng ating five senses ay kailangan po nating i-change yan. I mean, on the mind, it has to be changed in a form that can be stored. Mayroon pong tatlong forma na pwede nating ma-store. Una po, yung tinatawag natin na visual, meaning with the use of picture. Pangalawa, acoustic, with the use of the sound. And pangatlo, yung semantic o meaning. Let us first talk about visual. Picture, visual. The information na perceive natin is represented as a picture. Okay? Pangalawa, acoustic. Yung information is represented as a sound. And pangatlo, yung semantic, yung information ay nire-represent as a personal meaning. Maya-maya po, makikita natin bakit naka-numbered 1, 2, 3 yan, sir. Mayroon po yung implication maya-maya on the different levels. Let's move on po. Storage, ito yung pangalawang phase ng proseso. Storage includes retention of information over time. Diba? Sa computer natin, pag meron tayong files, sinesave natin sa document. Tapos ilang araw or maybe the next day or the following week, kailangan natin yung file na yon, pupunta lang tayo sa document, i-retrieve natin. Doon sa pagsisave, we call that one in this theory as the storage. Okay? Storage includes retention of information over time. This stage of the memory process creates a permanent record of the encoded information. Take note, yun lamang pong na-encode na information. Yung mga hindi po na-encode na information, definitely hindi na yun hindi mo na yun mababalikan. Mahihirapan ka na balikan yun kasi nga hindi siya nakastore. And then, when we talk about storage, there are three main storage areas. Una, yung tinatawag natin na sensory memory. Pangalawa, yung tinatawag natin na short-term memory. Other term for short-term memory is the working memory. And yung pangatlo ay yung tinatawag natin na long-term memory. Ito yung tatlong category or three main storage areas. Sensory, short-term, at yung tinatawag natin na long-term memory. Pag-uusapan po natin itong tatlo. Una po, sensory memory o yung ibang aklat, tinatawag ito na sensory register. Okay? Do not be confused. Pareho lang po silang dalawa. Sensory memory or sensory register. Kapag tinatawag nating sensory memory or sensory register, it stores incoming sensory information in detail, but only for a fraction of a second. Ibig sabihin, madali lamang po. Its capacity is large. Meron tayong mai-entertain na information. Pwede, marami. Kasi yung capacity ng sensory memory is very large. Yung problema lamang po ay yung hanggang kailan mas-store. Okay? It's only a fraction of seconds. Sa five senses po natin, we have five senses, but yung pinaka-common talaga na pinag-aaralan, lalong-lalo na po sa mga psychologists, ay itong dalawa. Okay? We call it as the components of the sensory memory. Una po, yung tinatawag natin na iconic, meaning visual, icon, picture. Pero, yung hanggang kailan lang mag-stay ang iconic na to, na memory na to, it's only less than 0.5 second. Okay? Ibig sabihin, madali lang. On the other hand naman, echoic, yung aural, meaning sounds, it will last 3 to 4 seconds based on studies. So kung titingnan natin, i-equate natin, i-compare natin yung dalawa, iconic or echoic, mas maglalast a little longer lang naman si echoic. Okay? Kaya nga, when we talk, yung naaalala natin, yung mga words na sinabi ng mga kaibigan natin. Okay? Next slide. Short-term memory naman, ang other term ng short-term memory ay yung tinatawag natin na working memory. Short-term memory can hold information for approximately 30 to 45 seconds. Medyo lumalawak na or humahaba na rather yung storage. Okay? It can capacitate plus minus 7 chunks of information. Ibig sabihin, naglalaro lamang po yung information from 5 to 9 chunks. Okay? Kasi nga plus minus 7 chunks of information. Okay? However, rehearsing the information can help keep it in short-term memory longer. Kanina po, doon sa first type of memory, yung sensory memory, makaka-accommodate po tayo ng marami. Okay? Makaka-accommodate po tayo ng marami kasi yung capacity niya is very large. Kaso, maikli lamang yung time. Okay? Pero dito sa short-term memory, medyo mahaba-haba yung time na ma-retain natin siya sa ating mind, like 30 to 45 seconds. Kaso, yung capacity naman ay umiiksi. It's only plus minus 7 chunks of information. Kaya nga po kung mapapansin niyo yung mga phone numbers natin, I am talking about telephones kasi bago lang yung mga cellphones, di ba? Talking about the phone numbers, telephone numbers, naglalaro lamang po yung number of digits in 7. Okay? Kasi nga, based on psychology, naaalala lang natin 7, on the short-term memory or working memory, 7 chunks of information lamang po. Okay? But do not be worried. Sir, paano yun? Ibig bang sabihin, hindi ko na memorize yung number or hindi ko na maaalala? Hindi po. Bakit? Kapag nire-rehearse po natin ito, nire-rehearse natin, inuulit-ulit natin yung information, then that will keep it, no? It will help keep it in short-term memory longer. Mas haba pa until such time na memoryado na natin. Okay? Kagaya kanina ng other type of memory, o yung unang type ng memory, yung sensory memory, mayroon ding components si short-term memory. Unang component niya ay si visual or spatial sketchpad. Yun po yung mga pictures, visual. Okay? At saka yung isa naman is phonological. Ibig sabihin yung naririnig natin. Naririnig natin whether words or numbers. For as long as naririnig natin aural. Doon nga naka-work out on the phonological loop. However, may mga instances din na magsasabay yung dalawa. You are looking, you are watching at something, at the same time you are hearing. Kagaya po ng mga ginagawa natin ngayon, or yung ginagawa ninyo ngayon. You are watching the screen, that's visual, at the same time you are listening to my discussion. You are using both visual spatial sketchpad at saka phonological loop. In cases like this na yung dalawa ay magkakasabay, dito na papasok si central executive, yung nagpapagitna. Siya yung nagmamanage ng dalawa na, visual spatial sketchpad, phonological loop, you collaborate kasi kailangan kayo ngayon. Okay? So, si central executive yung gumagawa nun. It works all in our mind. And when it happens, mayroong pangyayari na tinatawag natin na episodic buffer. Bakit naka-highlight si episodic buffer dito? Or naka-red siya? Si episodic buffer, ito po yung kinakailangan natin upang ma-store natin further mula sa short-term memory or working memory to the third type of memory, which is the long-term memory. Ito po yung aim natin As teachers, we want our students to develop this long-term memory. Okay? Ano ba itong tinatawag natin na long-term memory, ladies and gentlemen? Long-term memory serves as the permanent storing house of memory information. Permanent storing house of memory information. Its capacity is almost unlimited. No? Wala siyang limit. Walang limit. And it can last indefinitely. Yung ba maganda pag nasa long-term memory yung information natin? Wala lang sa sensory memory at saka sa short-term, but it's in the long-term memory. Okay? However, kahit na medyo malawak ang ni long-term memory, yung capacity niya at saka yung time niya is indefinite, you may not always be able to remember the information. May mga chances na nalilimutan natin. Bakit? Because you may not be able to retrieve it. No? Andun siya in the long-term memory pero hindi mo maalala. Doon papasok yung idea ng forgetting. Okay? Maya po, pag-uusapan natin what is the concept of forgetting all about. The way we store information in long-term memory affects the way we retrieve it. Uulitin ko po, the way we store information in long-term memory affects the way we retrieve it. Kung paano natin in-store yung information on our long-term memory, maapekto niyan kung paano din natin i-retrieve yung memory na yon o yung information na yon. Let's move on. There are two categories of long-term memory. First category category ng long-term memory is what we call the explicit. O yung other books, sinatawag nila ito na declarative long-term memory. Yung pangalawa naman na category ng long-term memory is what we call the implicit, implied, o other books call it as procedural. Okay? Let us talk first about explicit or declarative long-term memory. Information that you have to consciously work to remember or retrieve. Yung mga information po na talagang we consciously want to remember it. Gusto nating maalala. Halimbawa, nagte-take po tayo ng exam. Okay? And then we try to remember ano yung kasi nga the information that you have to consciously work to remember or retrieve. Conscious ka, nag-iisip ka talaga. Okay? Explicit ang tawag doon. On the other hand naman, on contrary, yung tinatawag natin na implicit, implied, o other books call it as procedural. Ito naman po, information that you remember unconsciously and effortlessly to retrieve. Ano pong ibig sabihin nito, sir, na unconsciously and effortlessly to retrieve? Halimbawa po, you are riding or driving a bicycle, no? Nagbibisikleta ka po. Habang pinapadyak mo yung bisikleta, you are not thinking, how much pressure ba ang i-apply ko? You are not thinking, ilang pressure ba ang i-apply ko sa pedals ng isang bisikleta para ito ay umandar? Okay? It's implied. You are unconsciously doing it. But your brain is, working. No? Grabe talaga si Lord when na mag-ano sa paggawa sa atin, no? Very very intelligent, unfathomable talaga yung Panginoon. Muli, ito pong dalawa ang categories of long-term memory. Explicit, consciously we are trying to remember the information. Implicit o procedural, we are unconsciously retrieving information. Okay, next. Retrieval, yung panghuling proseso. Okay? Retrieval is the process of getting information. No? We retrieve the information. Kung ano yung na-save natin, i-retrieve natin. Kasi kailangan natin yung information. Okay? Halimbawa, nag-aaral ka kasi may test ka kinabukasan. No? You store it. Anong kinabukasan sa exam time? Of course, you retrieve kung ano yung mga pinag-aralan mo. Kasi kailangan mo yung information upang masagutan mo yung test or exam mo. Okay? Ito yung part doon. We call it as the retrieval part. Yung process of getting information from our memory. Retrieval is the ability to get information out of our long-term memory and returning it to our conscious mind to allow us to use stock memories to answer questions and perform tasks. Okay? Ito yung ability natin na kukunin natin yung mga na-store natin sa ating long-term memory kasi kailangan natin. Okay? So I hope klaro yung ano yung ibig sabihin ng retrieval. Let us move on. There are two methods of retrieving information. Okay? Dalawang pamamaraan kung paano natin i-retrieve yung information. Una, yung tinatawag natin na recognition. Pangalawa, yung tinatawag natin na recall. Okay? Again, these are the two methods of retrieving information. Recognition and recall. Let's talk first about recognition. When we talk about recognition, it is the association of something with something. Ibig sabihin, yung learning mo ngayon, you associate it with your previous learning. Okay? It is the association of something with something previously experienced. Hence, the recognition process is initiated as a response to a sensory cue. Mayroon kang cue. Naaalala ko to, easier kung pag-aralan ang information na to kasi meron na akong previous information na maaari kong i-connect dito. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, remember the concept of review in our classes. Di ho ba isa sa mga purpose bakit tayo nagre-review? Because we want to connect our new lesson sa previous lesson natin. Bakit required yun, sir? There's a psychology behind that one. Gusto natin na mapadali yung learning process ng mga bata. Kaya po, mahalaga po si review. Okay? Kasi gusto natin na ma-recognize ng bata, it has something to do pala sa my previous na learning. Okay? And when the child is able to connect that one, when the child is able to associate these two information, mas magiging madali na sa kanya yung learning new information. Mas magiging meaningful sa kanya kasi nakaka-relate siya. Okay? Another method of retrieving information is what we call the recall. When we talk about recall, it is the retrieval of information from memory but without a cue. It involves remembering even without physical presence or, trying to remember. You do not have to relate it with something, with the previous information. Okay? You just have to retrieve the information from memory without any cue. Okay? Wala kang cue. Hindi kagaya kay recognition na meron siyang cue. So again, ladies and gentlemen, ito yung tinatawag natin na two methods of retrieving information. Recognition and the other one is recall. Okay, let's move on. Information processing theory has been developed over the past years. The most notable development in the model presented was the presentation of Atkinson and Schifrin, and the two called this one as the stage theory. Okay? Again, stage theory yung present ni Sir Atkinson at ni Sir Schifrin. Ano ba tong stage theory? Tingnan natin, i-discuss natin itong model na to. Environmental stimuli, di ho ba yung nape-perceive natin with our senses? Okay? Papasok yan via sensory memory. Take note, yung retention ng sensory memory is only 25 to 2,000 millisecond. That is 0.025 or 0.2, if I am not mistaken with my computation. Kasi naka-millisecond yan eh. Okay? However, it's large capacity. Alam natin yon, di ba? But if this sensory memory is not attended, ibig sabihin hindi natin inintindi. Passing lang. May narinig ako sa kapitbahay namin pero hindi ko binigyan ng pansin. Narinig ko lang, okay? That information is lost. Hindi mo na ma-retrieve, hindi mo na malalaman kung ano yung pinag-usapan ng kapitbahay kasi hindi mo binigyan ng atensyon. Okay? However, kapag binigyan mo ng attention, okay? Binigyan mo ng attention yung nasasagap ng senses mo. Okay? Doon sa sensory memory mo. Then it will move forward to this what we so-called as working memory. Halimbawa ngayon, you are watching with me with this webinar by Vibal. Okay? Nag-work yung working memory ninyo ngayon. Kasi binigyan niyo ng attention yung mga nakikita at naririnig niyo ngayon. Okay? And then when this working memory, pag nire-rehearse mo yan, ibig sabihin paulit-ulit mo yan na pinag-aaralan. Okay? Pupunta yan doon sa long-term memory. Sir, paano naman kapag hindi ko pinag-aralan ulit? Ibig sabihin, maglo-lost din yung information. Mawawala din yung information. Okay, halimbawa, number. You are trying to memorize the phone number of your friend. Okay, or someone who is dear to you. You want to memorize the number. Paulit-ulit mong minemorize. Paulit-ulit mong ginagamit kasi palagi kang tumatawag sa kanya o nagte-text sa kanya. Definitely, nire-rehearse mo siya like every day. Yung working memory na yon, yung digits ng numbers nila, papasok yan sa long-term memory. Memoryado mo na. Hindi mo na makakalimutan. But, kapag nagte-text lang kayo over 3 days or 5 days, pagkatapos nun, wala na, definitely by the following days, nawala din yung information, nawala din yung numbers sa mind mo. Okay? That is why, dito talaga papasok yung tinatawag natin na repetition, no? Repetition theory. Paulit-ulit nating ituturo sa mga bata so that hindi lamang mas-stuck yung information doon sa working memory o short-term memory, but we aim further, that is the long-term memory. Okay? But it is not an assurance na pag nasa long-term memory na, andun na. Okay? Some information is forgotten over time. May mga reasons din bakit yung mga na-store na sana natin sa long-term memory ay mawawala. We will talk about that one later on. Bakit nawawala? Nasa long-term memory ko naman, sir. bakit mawawala pa din? There are reasons. We will discuss that one later on. Craig and Lockhart naman introduced the level of processing. The degree, itong level of processing, ito yung degree of which the information was elaborated upon will affect how well the information was learned. Ito yung sabi ko sa inyo kanina, bakit naka-number sila. Number 1, visual or iconic. Number 2, acoustic or echoic o yung sound. At number 3, semantic or your meaning. Okay? Friends, ladies and gentlemen, Craig and Lockhart introduced this what we so-called as the level of processing. Visual and iconic, according to the two, yung gamit yung picture, it's very shallow. Ibig sabihin, lesser chance na ma-remember mo siya, ma-retrieve mo siya. Okay? Si acoustic naman, in between siya. Acoustic or echoic yung sound, in between siya. Pero yung mas malalim talaga, yung tinatawag natin na semantic or meaning. That is why as teachers, when we conduct activities to our students, let us not forget how to integrate our lesson or how they can apply the learnings that they have in their real life scenario. We allow our lessons not only on the objective way, not only very subjective lang tayo, but we deepen our discussions with our students by allowing them to relate on the topic. Kasi nga, semantic yun. Okay? It's on the semantic part. Nagbibigay ng meaning yung bata. The more nagbibigay ng meaning yung bata, it's deeper. And hence, the deeper the information is processed, the longer the memory lasts. Okay? Halimbawa, naalala ko ngayon yung picture ni Mona Lisa. Meaning, visual lang. It's very shallow. Okay? Pero kapag tatanungin nyo ako, ano yung masasabi mo pala doon sa picture ni Mona Lisa? And then I will give it, I will relate it, I will give my own interpretation. I will give meaning to that picture. Then there is a deeper sense on it. And the deeper information is processed, the longer the memory would last. Okay? So take note of this one po. When we teach our students, let us not settle on the very subjective or very objective way, but we go deeper. How to go deeper? Take note of semantic. We allow our learners to incorporate meaning by relating the topic in their real life. Let's move on. The concept of forgetting. Ito yung kanina, di ba? Na-mention ko to kanina. Bakit pa tayo nakakalimot, Sir? Nasa long-term memory na, pero bakit nakakalimutan ko din? Ulyanin na ba ako? Matanda na ba ako? Okay? Forgetting, when we talk about forgetting, it is the inability to retrieve. Hindi na natin makayang i-retrieve o i-access yung information in our memory. Okay? And there are reasons, several reasons, bakit tayo nagiging makalimutin? Why we forget something? Okay? There are several reasons, but I would like to give you tonight 5 reasons. Una po, yung tinatawag natin na retrieval failure. Pangalawa, ineffective encoding. Pangatlo, interference. Pang-apat, motivated forgetting. Meron palang motivated forgetting. Ano po? At panglima ay yung tinatawag natin na decay. Pag-uusapan natin yan bawat isa. Let's start with retrieval failure. Retrieval failure is the failure to recall a memory due to missing stimuli or cue. Ibig sabihin, sana may na-remember, may information ka na naka-store sa long-term memory mo, pero yung path going to that long-term memory ay mayroong failure. Okay? Due to missing stimuli or cue. The memory is temporarily forgotten simply because it cannot be retrieved. Andun pa rin, pero hindi mo lang ma-retrieve kasi nga yung path niya going or accessing to that information, may problema, may missing na stimuli or may missing na cue. Okay? However, a cue to that forgotten information may lead to retrieval. Maybe an instance in your life na mayroon kang gustong i-remember pero talagang hindi mo maalala. But when somebody mentioned na may relation doon sa kailangan mong alalahanin, nakuha mo. Halimbawa, you are watching a movie tapos hindi mo alam kung sino yung bida. Okay? Pero alam mo, andun na. Napanood mo eh. nare-recall mo. However, you cannot retrieve it kasi mayroong problema sa path in getting that information. Tapos ito naman yung kaibigan mo nagsabi na, oy, it starts with letter L. O, parang ganon. So, mayroong cue, nagbibigay ng cue. Until such time na yung cue na yun na ibinigay, siya yung magli-lead sa'yo to retrieve that information. Kasi nga, hindi naman nawala. Nakalimutan lang. May problema lang sa path in accessing that certain information. Yun yung tinatawag natin na retrieval failure. Next, ineffective encoding. Isa din ito sa mga reasons bakit tayo nakakalimot. Ineffective encoding. We talk about encoding kanina. Unable to remember an information may not always be because of forgetting. Okay? Hindi lamang nakalimutan mo, but maybe because of the fact that the information was not encoded properly and never made its way to long-term memory. Hindi mo pala nakalimutan. Talagang hindi pumasok sa long-term memory. No? Hindi na encode doon sa long-term memory mo. Hanggang short-term lang siya. Okay? Next. Another reason bakit we tend to forget is what we call the interference. Interference happen when information gets confused with other information in our long-term memory or when memories compete and interfere with other memories. Ano pong ibig sabihin nun? Halimbawa, mayroon kang konsepto na nabasa and then the concept tells this way. Tapos mayroon namang another person na nagsabi sa'yo na ganito pala. So mayroon the same topic but different yung first na nasagap mo na information compared to the new information. Ibig sabihin, hindi nagja-jive yung dalawang information. Interference. No? So yung mind mo, nalilito na sino ba yung paniniwalaan ko? Ito ba o ito ba? Si A ba o si B ba? Okay? Memory loss occurs when information stored either before or after a given memory hinders the ability to remember it. Halimbawa, information A, information B. Okay? Pareho sila, pero different yung process. Kaya nalilito ka. Sino ba yung tunay na process dito? A ba or B? Tapos pinaniwalaan mo, si B. Ito kasi ito yung bago na nalalaman ko. So definitely, yung process na A, makakalimutan na. Okay? Or in the other way, A and B, tapos pinaniwalaan mo yung old learning mo, si A. Si new learning mo, si B, medyo hindi ka convinced. Kaya, you stick to what you believe, no? Yung sa A. Kaya yung nangyayari, B will disappear. Mawawala. Yun yung tinatawag natin na interference. There are two types of interference. Una, yung tinatawag natin na retroactive interference. Yung pangalawa naman yung tinatawag natin na proactive interference. Ano ba yung difference ng dalawa? Yung sinabi ko kanina. When we talk about retroactive interference, it occurs when the newly learned information makes people forget the old information. Mas naniwala ka dun sa bagong information. Kaya, yung previous na information, hindi mo na ginagamit kasi mas naniwala ka sa bago mong nalalaman. Kaya yung nangyayari, nawawala yung old information. That is what we call the retroactive interference. In contrast naman, si proactive interference, it occurs when old information makes people forget newly learned information. Mas naniniwala ako doon sa previous learning ko kaysa dito. Okay? Kaya yung nangyayari, nare-reject na yung new learning. Okay? Mas pinaniniwalaan mo yung previous learning. Okay? Or yung previous information. And that is what we call the proactive interference. Next, another reason naman why we forget, because of motivated forgetting. Meron po yung motivated forgetting. Okay? When I do my research, na-surprise ako, meron palang motivated forgetting. Ibig sabihin, motivated ako na i-forget ito. Well, there is. People forget because they push unpleasant thoughts and feelings deep into their unconscious. Halimbawa, meron kang karanasan na hindi maganda, na trauma ka, okay? Or meron kang disturbing experience. Definitely, hindi mo gustong balik-balikan yung experience na yun kasi hindi pleasant sa'yo. No? May maaalala ka na masama o nasasaktan ka. Okay? Natutrauma ka. And then, because you want to forget that instance in your life, halimbawa, gusto mong makalimutan yung trauma or disturbing experience mo, This is what we call, or dito papasok yung tinatawag natin na motivated forgetting. Imo-motivate ko yung sarili ko na kalimutan to until such time na makakalimutan mo talaga. Okay? Next, the one that we call decay. Okay? Meron palang decay. Akala ko sa science lang to. Okay, decay. When information is not occasionally retrieved, it will eventually lost. Diba? Kapag hindi natin ginagamit, mawawala talaga. Okay? Pero yung mga bagay o yung mga information na parati nating binabalik-balikan, like everyday talaga natin binabalikan, it will stay. Kasi nga, everyday mo pinapractice o nire-rehearse mo everyday. But, dito sa concept ng decay, hindi mo siya nire-rehearse. No? Andun na sana pero hindi mo siya binabalikan, hindi mo siya nire-rehearse. Kaya, eventually, mawawala yan. Okay. Next. Yung tanong ngayon, kasi yung topic natin is how to enhance, di ba? How to enhance our information processing skill. Well, I will give you 10 ways on how to enhance or retrieve information. Una, yung tinatawag natin na rehearsing, organizing, visualizing, generating, sleeping. Mahalaga pala si sleeping, no? Making meaning, elaborating, personalizing, contextualizing, at yung tinatawag natin na utilizing mnemonic devices. Let us talk about this one. Rehearsing. From the word itself, rehearse. Ibig sabihin, repeat the information verbatim. No? Verbatim, either mentally or verbally. Ibig sabihin ng verbatim talagang word for word. No? You repeat that information until such time na from short-term mapupunta yan sa long-term memory mo and eventually it will stay. Makabisado mo na yan kasi nga you rehearse it You rehearse the information. Minimorize mo yung number ng boyfriend mo or girlfriend mo. Okay? Over a long period of time. No? Kahit pa maghiwalay kayo, andyan pa rin yan. Kasi nga palagi mo nang nire-rehearse. No? Next. Linking. We try to link, no? Connecting previous learning with new ones. Na-mention natin yan kanina na mas magiging madali yung pag-retrieve ng information o yung mas magiging madali yung pag-put o paglagay ng information into the long term and retrieving the information from the long-term memory if we try to connect previous learning with the new ones. We call that one as linking. Next, clustering. Ibig sabihin ng clustering, information is organized in memory in related clusters. You can take advantage of this by structuring and organizing the materials you're studying. Halimbawa, this time, I want to study more on language. Ibig sabihin, pag-aaralan ko si English, pag-aaralan ko si Filipino. And then later naman, on this time, I would like to deal with numbers. I would study my lessons in mathematics or in science. Okay? So, that is what we call clustering. Nakakatulong ito, no? Nakakatulong ito when we organize our when we organize things na para papasok o ma-store natin sa ating long-term memory and at the same time retrieving it. Next, elaborating. From the word itself, to elaborate. We add additional information to deepen the idea. Yun yung sabi ko sa inyo kanina, friends, ladies and gentlemen. We do not settle on the very subjective or very objective way lang, no? Or subjective way lang. But we try to deepen, no? We try to relate, no? We try to ask our students, you relate. Ano yung masasabi nyo? Paano nyo magagamit ang konsepto na to in your real life? You deepen the idea. Okay? And in such a way, it will connect new and old information to create meaning. Okay? Next. Visualizing, creating pictures of information for representation. Naalala ko tuloy during my high school life, chemistry. Ay nako, super difficult yung chemistry para sa akin na subject. No, lalo na kapag pinapememorize kami ni Sir, no? Kung nanonood man siya ngayon, hello po Sir Aristotle Mabale. Ayan, kabisado ko pa yung name niya from Regional Science High School, Region 10. Okay. Pinamemorize niya sa amin yung mga elements ng table of elements kasi nga chemistry class Pero ang dami nun. So I could not memorize everything until such time we were taught about visualizing. Every element you try to create visual about it. Like the element gold. AU. Yan, natandaan ko pa, di ba? Aurum or gold. Why I can still remember that one even up to now? It's because palaging mapapasok sa isip ko that when we talk about gold, it's bar, no? Gold bar. Okay? So I try to visualize, I try to create pictures out of that information para mas store siya sa aking long-term memory and at the same time easier for me to retrieve that information. And I guess that's really effective naman. Next, generating. Ano ba tong generating? You produce output, no? As teachers, we do not allow our students only to learn the concepts. Instead, we let them produce something. No, nagpa-project tayo. Yung other schools nga, I am happy na may mga schools dito sa Pilipinas din na they are really banking on project-based. No? They are banking on that concept, project-based. Hindi lamang concept, hindi lamang yung konsepto lamang yung tinuturo. Instead, they generate output out from that concept. Okay? Products are easier to remember than the things we only see and hear. Take note of that one po. Products, the output, how they make the output are easier to remember than the things the students only see and only hear. Okay? Next, contextualizing. Context matters po talaga. Remembering the situation or context will help you retrieve information. Okay? Next, personalizing. Making information relevant to you means better retention, thus easier to retrieve. Yung topic o yung lesson na tinuturo natin sa mga bata, if they are able to personalize that one, then definitely ma-store yan sa kanilang long-term memory and it is easier for them to retrieve the information the moment na kailangan nila yung information na yon. We call that one as personalizing. Again, when we teach our students, let us not limit them. Instead, we allow them to explore, we allow them to deepen their understanding. But of course, as teachers, we need to facilitate the process. Okay? Yung proseso natin dapat magli-lead towards personalizing or deepening yung konsepto para mas magiging easier for them to remember or retrieve the information. Next, utilizing mnemonic devices. Alam ko naman po na common itong tinatawag natin na mnemonic devices. But for the sake of the presentation at para ma-refresh din yung minds natin, when we talk about mnemonic devices, these are techniques often used to aid in recall. Mnemonic devices help to remember information. Halimbawa, acronyms. Di ba? Pinaiksi, no? Acronyms. Halimbawa, ano bang acronym? Pag-asa, halimbawa, pag-asa. Pero bawat titik dyan, meron niyang katumbas na salita. Okay? Acrostic, magbibigay ka ng word and then yung mga bata, sila na yung magbibigay kung ano yung mga words na nagsisimula sa mga letters na yon. Rhyming din, no? It's another mnemonic device, rhyming. Chunking, ibig sabihin, wag buuin, i-chunk mo yung pagtuturo sa bata. Clustering, yung na-discuss natin kanina, we group, no, words or numbers. And then imagery, the use of pictures, visual. Okay, so those are what we call the use of mnemonic devices. Makakatulong para po mas store yung information in the long-term memory and eventually the moment na gusto nating i-retrieve or ipa-retrieve sa mga bata yung information na yan, mas madali sa kanila yung retrieval process. Sleeping. Yan. Huwag po nating ismulin si sleeping, no? Oftentimes nile-neglect natin ito no? Halimbawa, personally, sa dami ng mga ginagawa ko, eventually nag-overtime talaga ako, like natutulog 12 midnight or 1 or 2 a.m. to finish something. But talagang meron times na nafe-feel ko na parang hindi na pumapasok sa isipan ko yung mga binabasa ko o yung mga ginagawa ko. Kasi pala, I lack sleep. Okay? Sleeping is another way, no? Another way to enhance our retrieval process when it comes to information retrieval. Sleep is important for memory and learning. Take note of that one po. Sa mga parents po natin ngayon na nanonood, take note po, siguraduhin po natin na yung mga bata natin at home, mayroon po talaga silang sapat na oras sa pagtulog. Bantayan nyo po, tingnan nyo po, baka nakahiga yan pero yung ginagawa, nagsi-cellphone lang pala. Okay? There should be an ample amount of time for sleep. Bakit? Again, sleep is important for memory and learning. Research shows, meaning research-based ito. No? Hindi lamang to sabi-sabi, kundi talagang mayroong nakasupport na research results. Research shows that taking a nap, okay, after you learn something new can actually help you learn faster and remember better. O, di ba? Research na yan, hindi yan galing lang sa akin, but this is based on research. That when you learn something new, you can actually learn that one faster and remember it better when you sleep. Yun po. Okay? So that was the last tip on how to enhance our information processing skills. Okay? So I hope meron po kayong natutunan sa akin ngayong gabi. But before we will end our webinar session, I would like to share to you a very good news, no? May good news po, hatid po sa atin ng Vibal Group. Ano po yung good news, Sir Arvin? Well, meron pong tinatawag na learn at home, lalong-lalo na po ngayon in time of crisis, in time of pandemic, no? We cannot go out. Vibal is giving us something. And what is that something? This is the learn at home. Hatid sa atin ng Vibal. The new now of learning experience. So mga parents dyan na walang ginagawa yung mga bata sa mga bahay nila, try to access this one. Everything is free. Again, hatid po sa atin ito ng Vibal Group. Maraming salamat Vibal for initiating this one. Okay? So what is this Learn at Home, Sir Arvin? The Learn at Home Kit is a free online starter kit that contains printable supplements, activity sheets, and test booklets good for 10 weeks of budgeted learning aligned to the curriculum. Ito yung maganda kay Vibal. Hindi lamang sila gumagawa ng activities para sa mga bata on their own. Instead, they create activities or they produce such activities, test booklets, supplements based on the curriculum that Ed has provided us. Okay? So curriculum-based pa rin yung ginagawa ni Vibal. It is important for schools and parents to continue providing structured learning to students despite the quarantine. No? Yung maraming mga bata ngayon naglalaro lang sa bahay, walang ginagawa. Take note po, it is theory-based po na kapag yung mind natin hindi natin pinapractice, definitely magiging weak po siya. That's, if I'm not mistaken, that is the mental development theory. Kailangan yung mind natin, i-workout natin para gagana din siya. We have to exercise it like a muscle, di ba? Magbabuff yung muscle mo kapag ini-exercise mo. That is why let us not allow na kesyo nag-quarantine, kesyo mayroong ganito, wala nang learning na mangyayari sa mga bata. Kawawa naman po. Vibal is trying to reach out now to us. Okay? Free po ang lahat ng ito despite the quarantine po. Learn at home. Paano po ba ma-access yan, Sir Arvin? Well, you just simply visit the website of Vibal. That is as seen on the screen, https://www.vibalgroup.com/learn-at-home. When you access that link, ang daming mga printables doon, no? Mga printables, you only have to download it and then print it and then let your child answer it and learn from it. Okay? Certified Serbisyong Pampubliko. Bakit Certified Serbisyong Pampubliko yung ino-offer ni Vibal sa Learn at Home Kit? Definitely, it is for free. Tama po. Free po ang ino-offer ni Vibal sa atin. Okay? Ito po yung screenshot when you go to that link. Learn at Home Kits, academic book, test booklet, supplements, teach at home guide, at saka yung mga activity sheets. I actually browsed this one. I downloaded this one. Ang daming mga magagandang mga teksto, no? There are many text reading materials na magagamit natin. So mayroong test booklet, it contains drills, exercises, and exams, even exams, no? Merong ginawa si Vival for us to assess the learning of our children. It has also activity sheets containing graphic organizers. Graphic organizer is one way to improve our memory po. Okay? Yung part na we cluster them. We organize our thoughts and knowledge. Okay? Supplements containing additional reading and supplementary learning activities. Ang dami kong nagustuhan na mga supplements na ibinigay ni Vival through this Learn at Home kit. Kung hindi, huwag mag-alala kung hindi nyo alam kung paano gamitin to kasi mayroong ipoprovide si Vival na parents guide kung paano gagamitin yung kit na ibinibigay ng Vival sa atin. At saka may mga activity books containing lessons and activities for 5 major subjects. Okay? What does the Learn at Home kit offer? Well, it offers the 5 major subjects: English, Filipino, Araling Panlipunan, Science, and Mathematics. It comes with Teach at Home guide for parents and facilitators to monitor the child's learning progress. It covers key curricular areas or learning competencies aligned with DepEd K-12 curriculum. Yun po yung maganda doon, no? Kahit na private si Vival, private corporation si Vival or group si Vival, hindi naman siya nagiging inconsistent with the Department of Education. Kasi nga, yung ino-offer ni Vival, it is anchored on DepEd's K-12 curriculum. Curriculum-based pa rin yung ino-offer ni Vival. And of course, this is available in both print and digital version and for free. Wow. Okay? Yan po yung mga icons na makikita ninyo when you visit the site that I gave you a while ago. Ayan po. Okay, how to download? Just go to the link, choose the educational material, alin doon sa mga gusto mong i-download, and then you choose what grade. Primary ba? Yung anak mo ay primary ba? That is grade 1 to 3. Intermediate na ba yung anak mo? That is from grades 4 to 6. Or secondary from grade 7 to 10. And then simply click download. Yun na po. Okay? Hatid po sa atin yan ng Vival Group. Learn at Home kit mula sa Vival, and it is all for free. Ayan po. Daghang salamat. Thank you so much po. Vival, thank you so much for inviting me. This is my 3rd time. Yan, 3rd time po na po ito na maimbitahan po, mapaunlakan po ng Vival to be their resource speaker for their webinar series. Once again po, I am Mr. Arvin Abaday Onez from Bunga National High School, Oroqueta City Division, Misamis Occidental, Region 10, Northern Mindanao, enhancing information processing skills. I hope po marami po kayong natutunan sa akin ngayon. And can I give can I show my thanks? Miss Mitch, maaari ko bang basahin ito?
Sige
Ayan.
po, sir.
Thank you po. I would like to say thank you so much, of course, to Vival, kay Miss Mitch, kay Miss Jillian, and kay Miss Sandy na nasa ating control panel ngayon. Sila po yung nakakontrol dito ngayon. I would like to say thank you po for giving me with this opportunity once again kay Vival. Of course, to Oroqueta City Division, I would like to say thank you so much for your support. To our Schools Division Superintendent, Dr. Reynaldo Manuel. Sir, kung nanonood po kayo, thank you po. Maraming salamat po. To our new ASDS, Dr. Bobby Napere. I hope you're watching with us, Sir Bobby. Kaka-interview ko lang sa kanya the other day. And of course, to my previous ASDS, hindi ko makakalimutan, very supportive din yon. Ma'am Lorena, who is now in Tangub Division with Sir Agostines Sepe. To my CID or our CID chief in Oroqueta City Division, Sir Francis. Yan, big boss, Sir Francis J. Buak. To our SGOD chief, Ma'am Perlinita Glodove. Hello po, ma'am. Thank you po. To my direct supervisor, very supportive, no? English supervisor, Mr. Janicio Liwagon. Sir, maraming salamat po. To all the EPSs of Oroqueta City Division, maraming salamat po. to my RBI team. Yan, nagpapabati. RBI team, Radio-Based Instruction Team. Thank you so much po. To Team Apartment, thank you Team Apartment for accommodating me. Vibal team, thank you. To the avid fans of Vibal, no, webinar series, thank you so much for your support po sa Vibal. And of course, I would like to say thank you so much to these two special persons who really give me the quality education to the best that they could. To my parents, to my father, Leonido Onez, and Mrs. Janet Onez, my mom, daghan kaayong salamat. And I guess yun na po, ang dami kong nasa listahan. Miss Mitch, thank you so much!
Thank you very much, sir. Now we will proceed to the question and answer portion. Our first question is from Adelia Santiago. If spending too much time playing games in gadget affects information process or retention, will it be the same now that most of the learners spend more time online or in front of their gadgets?
Okay, thank you for that question, Ma'am Adelia Santiago. Unang-una po, I would like to address technology is not here para po ma-degrade yung mind natin o ng mga kabataan. In the first place, ginawa po ang technology to help us, no, para mas mapadali po ang lahat. Now, your first question, Ma'am Adelia Santiago, is spending too much time playing games ba nakaka-apekto po ba? Definitely, no? Kasi yung mind ng bata nakafocus sa games. Paano na yung mga dapat pag-aralan ng bata, di ba? Hindi niya nire-rehearse yung dapat pag-aralan niya kasi nakafocus siya sa games, no? Definitely, mayroon po yung negative effect. Kaya lahat po, hindi lamang kay Ma'am Adelia, pero sa lahat po ng mga parents na nanonood ngayon, let us limit po. Okay? On the other hand, yung follow-up question ni Ma'am Adelia, will it be the same now that the most of the learners spend more time online? Depende po, ano po ba yung pinagkaabalahan ng mga bata online? Kung online naman, tapos nag-o-online education, well, definitely it will not harm them. They are learning pa nga, di ba? Okay? But if they are online, because of online games, ibang usapan na po yan, Ma'am Adelia. Okay? We have another question from Sir Edward Decay. What students can do to improve information processing, especially now that they are attending online classes, which they encounter some distractions? Sir Edward Decay, thank you so much po sa question ninyo. Sir, present ko po sa inyo kanina how to improve, no, yung mental processes ng mga bata or natin generally, no. I presented 10, sir. So make use of those 10 na ibinigay ko sa inyo kanina, sir. And surely it will help enhance the information processing skills of our children. Paano yan, sir? Online na lahat, sir. Well, definitely you can still give instruction even online, di ba? Okay? On your instructions po, na sinuggest ko kanina, like you use graphic organizers doon para ma-cluster nila, okay? And then you let the topic relate that one to, you allow your students to relate to the topic, they give their own meaning to the topic. Yun po, sir, yung mga questions na ganoon, yun po yung nakakatulong to deepen their knowledge about that one and to enhance their information processing skills para easier po yung pagre-retrieve the moment na kinakailangan i-retrieve yung information. I hope nasagot ko po, Sir Edward.
Thank you so much, sir. There we have it. In behalf of Vibal Group Incorporated, I would like to thank our speaker for today for this very eye-opening and insightful learning session. It is an honor to have you with us today, sir. And to all our Vibal viewers, all thanks to you for your continuous patronage to our daily learning session. Don't forget to register to get your e-certificate of participation. We also encourage you to subscribe and watch on our official Vibal Facebook and YouTube channel. Muli, maraming salamat at magandang araw sa ating lahat.
Thank you po. Happy weekend!